morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of voice of radio. So today, I want to talk about some crocodiles. I want to talk about Krookodile, but that's not actually strictly true. Now, don't get me wrong, I do want to talk about Krookodile, but I actually want to talk about the entire Krookodile line, because we've got these new cards to have a chat about from the new set, Astonishing Volt Tackle over in Japan. But just talking about Krookodile, it's not fair. Because actually, the attack that I like on Krookodile is exactly the same as the attack I like on Krokorok, which is exactly the same as the attack I like on Sandile. Gee whiz, ladies and gentlemen. This one's going to take a little bit of explanation. I should mention our translation today comes from the lovely Antoine Boulet, who could possibly have foreseen that coming. So, what do we have here? Well, what we've got, if we start off with the basics here, we've got a Stage 2 Pokemon, moderately beefy, 150 HP, still lowish for a Stage 2. A retreat cost of 3, which occupies that awkward middle ground between Air Balloon and Buff Padding. We've mentioned that quite a bit. It's the worst retreat cost in the game right now. And a weakness to Grass, which unless, I think Zarude is probably the best chance at this stage of having a really good, viable Grass deck in the format. So unless that becomes big, you're probably okay. Being a Darkness Pokemon, you're not hitting very much for weakness, Dragapult that everybody has given up on playing. And honestly, anything that is weak to Darkness has already been scared off by Eternatus VMAX anyway. And although you are a good partner for that Pokemon, there's not really that many good bonuses to playing Darkness Pokemon at the moment. So, sorry. Although one I don't mention very often, Dangerous Drill did survive the rotation. If you discard a Darkness Pokemon from your hand, you can discard a Pokemon Tool or Special Energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon, or any Stadium card in play, which could make a difference if you're playing a Darkness deck, so yay! Now, there is one attack on Krookodile here that we're not particularly excited about, if I'm honest with you. For 1 Darkness and 3 Colorless Energy, you do 180 and you are confused. Self-confusion! Yowza! Slightly annoying if I'm honest with you. Having said that, Darkness Treble Colorless, you can use Triple Acceleration Energy. That will get the energy on quite nicely, so there's a bonus. And 180 damage is not insignificant. You'll KO Dedenne GX. You'll KO Crobat V. You'll be KOing anything that's weak, including Dragapult VMAX, which again, unlikely to be relevant too often, but you never know, ladies and gentlemen. You never know. So, I don't think it's a reason to play Krookodile, and I'm not going to be spending much of this video trying to convince you that it is. But I absolutely am going to tell you that it's a good attack if you can get the energy on, and I really do think Triple Acceleration Energy is probably where it's at. Though Colorless Energy, you could play around with any kind of energy acceleration, I say it a lot, but Welder is probably the way to go right now. Okay. But what about the other attack? The other attack is the one we like an awful lot more. I should mention that some of the translations here are from the lovely Joe over at Cerebi.net. And for 2 Colorless Energy, discard the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. Oh, that's milling. That's good. That's some nice milling right there. Discarding the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck is pretty gosh darn good. We like this. And the thing is that actually Mill has been coming around a bit lately. We've had more Mill in the last couple of sets than we've had for a little while. But the reality is very few of them have been able to really gain a hold. Honestly, my favourite of them is probably at this stage Toxtricity. Now, this is the one that it came around rather recently. It came around actually in Darkness Ablaze, and it's got the attack that says flip a coin. If heads, you discard the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck. If tails, you discard the top 5 cards of yours. Now, I like Toxtricity, and I like the fact that for 2 Colorless Energy, you're just using a Twin Energy, although to be clear, you can do that on Krookodile as well. And I really like the fact that you're milling 5. Clearly, milling 5 on a stage 1 is better than milling 3 on a stage 2. That shouldn't be a terribly controversial statement. The thing is, Toxtricity's on a flip. Now, don't get me wrong, you do have access to Glimwood Tangle. And Glimwood Tangle means you get to reflip, so it's more of a 75% chance than it is a 50% chance. Yay! But there's still going to be those 1 in 4 turns where you do flip the double tails. And when you flip the double tails, you're going to be milling 5 from yourself. It's not just that you miss the milling on your opponent, it's that you also mill 5 from yourself. And milling 5 from yourself is harsh. Especially if you're sitting there crossing your fingers assuming it's not going to happen. Because then when it does happen, things go very, very wrong very, very quickly. You end up discarding some of the twin energy you're relying on for Toxtricity, for instance. And that's not much fun at all. To be fair, Toxtricity does 160 for free energy, which isn't much worse than Krookodile's attack. Although it is worth bearing in mind Krookodile does one-hit KO with Dedenne and Toxtricity doesn't. So that is something to bear in mind. Is it better to mill guaranteed free or occasional, or no, not occasional is not the right word, that's just mean to Toxtricity. Let's try it again. Is it better to mill a guaranteed free or a likely 5? I honestly don't know the answer to that question. If we go on a purely maths basis, in 4 turns, I would expect to mill all 4 times with Krookodile here, and I would be expecting to mill 12 cards, 3 times 4. Whereas with Toxtricity, I'd be expected to hit 3 out of 4, but that's still 15. So actually, on a purely mathematical basis, Toxtricity is probably the better option. The other one we've seen, which is really quite good for milling, is probably Center Scorch. Now, Center Scorch essentially mills cards equal to the number of fire energy on Center Scorch, which could be really good. I mean, you got Welder to accelerate energy to it, which is nice. And you can always try and hammer turbo patches before you evolve. They won't work when you're in the stage 1, but as long as the Sizzlipede's out, you can play all your turbo patches and hopefully then evolve straight up and go. And, you know, let's say you hit 2 turbo patches and a welder in your attachment for the turn. That is 5 energy and you can mill 5. The problem is that Center Scorch then gets knocked out and you need 5 more energy on to mill another 5. And you start running out of options pretty quickly and having to rely on, you know, milling 3 a turn. And Center Scorch a lot of the time is going to be welder attachment for the turn. Boom, mill 3. Well, I'd rather just mill 3 without having to muck about with supporters, etc. Though the energy cost isn't that easy. And to be fair, let's talk about the energy cost quickly. You're talking twin energy or welder, it's absolutely payable. So as much as I like this, I'm not sure it's necessarily better than the other options. What I will say is, we do actually have this same attack on Krokorok and on Sandile. Now, Krokorok is for free colorless energy, but you can use triple acceleration energy, and that is a huge bonus because it means you don't have to have your stage 2 out immediately. You play 4 copies of triple acceleration energy, 4 copies of twin, and you try and focus the triple acceleration onto Krokorok and the twin energy onto Krookodile here, which is cool. And you do have that exact same attack on Sandile here, and I love the Sandile art incidentally. But 4 colorless energy on a 70 HP basic? To be fair, if you're going the welder route, you can welder and twin energy and go. But no. I do like that they've all got the same attack, but every time you go up a stage, it gets 1 colorless energy cheaper. And I do like the fact, I mean, you might be playing welder and twin energy, and they might be the ones you've gone for here. And it might be that it's the end of the game and you can't get your stage 2s out, so you play Ordinary Rod to recover your Sandile, then you play Quick Ball to search out your Sandile, then you just play a Welder and a Twin Energy and actually mill 3, and that's an option we don't have. And this is, I think, the thing that probably sets Krookodile aside from those other Pokemon we've looked at. The fact that you've got this on all the evolutions, or not even evolutions, I suppose, just all of the Pokemon in the line. That's cool. I don't know how often you'll really want to use the other Pokemon, but it's there regardless. The thing is, we know that if Mill gets too good, action's probably going to be taken. We've just seen Balauber and Bryson Man be banned, and Balauber and Bryson Man would have been it discards 3 cards on top of each player's deck. That was what you would want to play with this, although again, if you were really relying on special energy, you would have to be super careful not to discard them from yourself using Balauber and Bryson Man. So I think this may well end up being another one of those Mill Pokemon which is almost good enough, but ends up being not more than a fun rogue deck. I like it, and it's exactly the kind of Pokemon I'm going to be playing around with, but I do worry that we're going to essentially turn around and go, you know what, that's quite nice, but honestly, I think we can probably do better. So let's go ahead and give it 3 Wassies. I do think it's a fun card. I worry that it's going to end up like the other Mill cards that have not proven their worth, but I would love to be wrong. I would dearly love to be wrong. But now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to hear from you guys, and I want to know how likely you think this is to end up being really good. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.